Okay, here are my notes. And my 3 adult audience members. I've recently made a decision in my life. I've decided to become pro-choice. In other words, I think it should be a baby's choice whether they live or die. According to worldometers.info, there are an average of 125 abortions per day all around the world that are unnecessary. Thousands of times a day, women undergo a procedure to remove a fetus from their womb, but never even bat an eye as to what is really going on. Abortion is wrong and unnecessary unless we are faced with an emergency. Many individuals who believe in abortion do not think that we should see a baby as human until they are born. However, this is wrong for a variety of reasons. According to Ronald M. Nardone, a living being's designation to a species is not by stage of development, but by the total sum of biological characteristics, actual and potential, that are determined by genetics. In other words, a person is a species because of the genetics they are made of. So a baby, whether they are outside in the world like us or inside the womb, should be considered human because they are made up of human DNA. According to the national state of legislation, 38 states currently have fetal homicide laws. A fetal homicide law says that when a pregnant woman is murdered, it is considered a double homicide, 2 murders because 2 bodies. However, when a pregnant woman says that she doesn't want the baby anymore and decides to abort, we see it as 1 body, just her own. This is no other than an act of hypocrisy because in one situation we see it as 2 bodies and in the other situation we see it as 1. We must no longer stand for this. Now, a person is considered dead when their heart stops beating. By this logic, a person should be considered living when their heart starts beating. A baby's heart starts beating at the moment of conception, not when they are born. So they should be considered a human and have the same rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness the whole time they are developing, not just when they are out in the world like you and I. Because if a person's dead when their heart stops, they should be alive when their heart starts. Abortion can have a variety of adverse effects on those who decide to abort their children, whether these are physical or psychological. According to lifenews.com, New Zealand conducted a study which found that 85% of women who go through with an abortion have negative mental effects, the biggest of which is depression. Now, Brianna Sharbout is a counselor for women going through exactly this, and she tells the story of Anna. Anna was going through college and taking a medication that may or may not cause effects if she were to get pregnant. One day, her and her boyfriend found out that they were expecting, so she went to a bunch of different doctors to find out if anything would happen. These doctors said they weren't sure if it would have an effect or not, so she may want to abort just in case. So she did. However, years later, her and her now husband decided they wanted to have a baby and start their own family. When they had a little boy, she was so happy, except all she could think about was that baby she had aborted. Would it be a boy or a girl? What would they look like now? Would they become the next president or astronaut? She would never know because she would never be able to take back that horrific act she had gone through. According to afterabortion.org, 10% of elective abortions experience immediate medical effects. These include death or the inability to conceive later. However, most of these effects occur years later or even months later, such as ectopic pregnancy, uterine cancer, and may even cause handicapped effects in newborns later down the line. These effects are not worth it to get rid of a child when there are so many other options. It is important for us to consider other options if we are not looking to conceive, whether it is before conceiving or after. The most important is birth control. If we are not looking to conceive, we can find birth control through a variety of ways. With all the funding going to Planned Parenthood, birth control has become very effective and very affordable to anyone, examples of which would be pills or the shot or many, many other ways. According to gutmaker.org, nearly half of pregnancies among American women in 2011 were unintended. 1 out of 10 of these were terminated. This could have been prevented if women had been able to take care of themselves more and find better precautions to prevent pregnancy. They would not have had to go through an abortion. Women should consider adoption if they do end up having conceived a baby. Adoption can be a miracle for anyone who is looking to adopt who cannot conceive on their own. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, 10% of women have a hard time getting or staying pregnant in America. Many of these women want to have a family of their own, but cannot. My cousin Randy is one of these women. After her and her husband had been married for a while, they decided they wanted to have a baby. But after 5 miscarriages, it was concluded that they were unable to conceive on their own and she could not carry to term. After this, they decided to look towards adoption to find their miracle baby. And eventually, they were. They had their little boy and they were so happy. Their family was finally complete through the miracle of adoption. Adoption is better for everyone in the end because you do not have to go through the harm and mental and physical effects that may come from abortion, and you can make someone else's life complete. Abortion should only be considered when dealing with extenuating circumstances, whether medical or psychological. An example of this would be whether the mom's or the baby's life were in danger. This can be caused by ectopic pregnancy. However, only 3% of abortions are due to medical emergencies, so it is not that big of an issue and should not be addressed as much. Psychological issues such as rape and incest are also very damaging to the mother and may cause a lot of effects and may not give the baby a very good quality of life later down the road. In these situations, it may be better to consider abortion. According to the johnsonsarchive.net, only 1% of abortions were due to rape or incest. So although these things do happen, these women must also consider adoption because they can still give someone else the miracle of life. Abortion is a horrific and immoral act that happens thousands of times a day everywhere around the world. However, we should not even consider this an option unless we are dealing with extenuating circumstances. Killing an innocent baby is wrong, and we must not stand for it any longer. They never had a chance. We must look at our other options, such as birth control and adoption. Abortion is dangerous and can have adverse effects, whether physical or mental. We must eliminate the thought of abortion from our minds and give these children the love and value that they deserve. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want someone deciding whether I live or die. So why should we choose for these innocent children who never even had a chance, whether they live or die? Thank you.
That's good.